Sophia Carter, a 19-year-old girl, lives in the shadow of her successful family. She had a natural beauty that was both striking and understated. Long, flowing dark hair, clear blue eyes, and a graceful demeanor that came from years of ballet classes. But beyond her outward appearance, Sophia felt an emptiness that no one seemed to notice. The Carter family lived in a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of the city. Dr. William Carter, Sophia's father, was a renowned surgeon and a successful businessman. He had built a medical empire from the ground up. His name was synonymous with excellence in the medical field, and his work took him all over the world. He was a man driven by ambition, often leaving home early in the morning and returning late at night. Sophia's mother, Eleanor Carter, was a socialite and philanthropist, known for her impeccable taste and her involvement in countless charitable organizations. She was always impeccably dressed, attending galas and fundraisers, where she mingled with the elite of society. Despite her busy schedule, Eleanor maintained a flawless public image, a devoted wife and mother, always in control. James, Sophia's 23-year-old brother, was following in his father's footsteps, studying medicine at an Ivy League university. He was brilliant, hardworking, and determined to live up to the Carter name. He was rarely home, his life consumed by exams, research, and clinical rotations. Lily, the youngest of the Carter siblings, was 16 and already making a name for herself as an academic prodigy. She excelled in every subject, particularly in the sciences, and was well on her way to attending a prestigious university. Her room was filled with textbooks, awards, and certificates of achievement. Lily's life was carefully planned out, every step leading to her ultimate goal of becoming a renowned scientist. Despite living in such a grand home filled with success and achievement, Sophia felt like a ghost in her own family. Her days were spent wandering the empty halls of the mansion, her loneliness echoing off the marble floors. She tried to reach out to her family, yearning for connection, but they were always too busy, too distracted by their own lives to notice her pain. One afternoon, as Sophia sat alone in the vast library of their home, she decided to speak with her mother. Eleanor was in the drawing room, going over the guest list for an upcoming charity ball. "Mom, can we talk for a minute?" Sophia asked hesitantly, standing in the doorway. Eleanor glanced up briefly, her eyes still on the list in front of her. "Not now, darling. I'm swamped with preparations for the ball. Maybe later." Sophia nodded and left the room, the familiar sting of rejection settling in her chest. She tried her brother next. James was home for the weekend, but he was holed up in his room, surrounded by medical textbooks and research papers. "James, do you want to grab a coffee later? Maybe catch up a bit?" Sophia asked, poking her head into his room. James barely looked up from his desk. "I can't, Soph. I have a huge paper due on Monday. Maybe next time." Sophia's last hope was her father. She knew he was home that evening, preparing for a conference call with a team of international investors. She found him in his study, the door slightly ajar. Taking a deep breath, she knocked softly. "Dad, could we have dinner together tonight? Just the two of us?" she asked, her voice tinged with hope. Dr. Carter didn't even look up from his laptop. "I have a conference call in a few minutes, sweetheart. We'll do it another night." Sophia walked away, her heart heavy with disappointment. She felt like an outsider in her own family, invisible to the people who were supposed to care about her the most. In her isolation, Sophia began to seek solace elsewhere. At first, she spent more time with her friends. Sophia starts seeking companionship outside her family, initially finding solace in new friendships and social outings. However, as her circle of friends expands, she is drawn into a darker world, leading her to experiment with drugs. Her life spirals out of control when one night, after a party, she is assaulted by a man she thought she could trust. Traumatized and lost, Sophia turns to drugs more heavily to escape her pain. One fateful evening, after consuming a large dose, Sophia suffers a severe overdose that results in a hemorrhage. Rushed to the hospital, she is clinging to life as doctors work frantically to save her. In a cruel twist of fate, the lead doctor called to save her is her own father. "Dr. Carter, we need you in the ER immediately. It's critical," a nurse called out as he entered the hospital. "I'm on my way," he replied, hurrying down the hallway. When Dr. Carter reached the ER, he froze. Lying on the gurney, surrounded by medical staff, was Sophia, his little girl, her life slipping away right before his eyes. The world seemed to stop as the realization hit him like a freight train. No, this can't be happening," he whispered, his voice trembling. The next moments were a blur. Dr. Carter fought desperately to save his daughter, his hands moving with the precision and skill that had saved countless lives before. But this time, the stakes were infinitely higher. This was Sophia, his Sophia, the daughter he had held as a baby, the child he had watched grow up. The young woman he had always been too busy to notice was in pain. As Dr. Carter worked, a deep sense of guilt and regret consumed him. How had he not seen this coming? How had he missed the signs? He had been so focused on his career, his ambitions, that he had failed to protect the one person who needed him the most. But despite his best efforts, Sophia's condition was too severe. Her heart stopped, and despite all attempts to revive her, she was pronounced dead. Dr. Carter's hands, once steady and skilled, now trembled as he realized the truth. Sophia was gone, and nothing he could do would bring her back. The news of Sophia's death spread quickly through the hospital, and then back to the Carter home. Eleanor collapsed in grief, her perfect world shattered in an instant. James, who had been so focused on his own future, was devastated, the weight of his sister's death crushing him with guilt. Lily, who had once admired her sister from afar, was inconsolable, her youthful innocence forever tainted by the loss. The Carter family, once so focused on success, wealth, and public image, was now united in their grief. The grand mansion, once filled with laughter and life, was now a tomb of memories, each room a painful reminder of what they had lost. Dr. Carter, once the proud and successful patriarch of the family, was now a broken man. He spent his days in a fog of guilt and sorrow, unable to forgive himself for not being there for Sophia when she needed him the most. He replayed every moment in his mind, every missed opportunity to reach out to her, to save her from the path she had taken. Eleanor, too, was consumed with regret. She had been so preoccupied with her social obligations, her image, that she had failed to see the pain her daughter was in. She had always assumed that Sophia was fine, that her daughter was strong enough to handle anything. But now, she realized too late that Sophia had been crying out for help, and she had been too blind to see it. James and Lily, too, were struggling to come to terms with their own guilt. They had always seen Sophia as strong and independent, someone who didn't need their help. But now, they realized that they had been wrong. Sophia had been crying out for help, and they had been too blind to see it. They had taken her for granted, assuming that she would always be there, that she was strong enough to handle anything. But now, they were left with nothing but memories, and the crushing guilt of knowing they could have done more. In the end, Sophia's death was a tragic reminder of the importance of family, of the need to be there for the ones we love, to listen, to care, to notice when something is wrong. The Carter family had been so focused on their own lives, their own ambitions, that they had missed the signs that Sophia was in trouble. And now, they were left to live with the regret of what might have been, the knowledge that they had failed her when she needed them the most. Sophia's story is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of family, of the need to be there for each other, to listen, to care, to notice when something is wrong. It is a story of love and loss, of regret and redemption, and of the devastating consequences of neglect. But it is also a story of hope, of the power of love to heal, to bring people together, to help them find their way back to each other, even in the darkest of times.